Hi there, welcome to Crystal Cave. Before we begin your tour, let's talk about some of the things we'll see today. Crystal Cave was discovered in 1881. That is well over 100 years ago. The cave was discovered by two local farm boys named William and George Vanas. William and George were walking through the field directly above you when they saw a small hole in the ground. After tying themselves to a tree, they crawled into the hole and discovered a vast and magnificent cave. But you're lucky, you won't be crawling today. You get to walk. And when you're walking through Crystal Cave, it is important that you do it slowly. Use the handrails wherever you see them, and watch your head. Some of the rocks can be pretty low. Now the first thing you'll notice inside Crystal Cave is all of the amazing rock. All the rock you'll see today is a type of limestone. But how does limestone form? Well, let's ask an expert. Besides me.
Well, limestone usually forms in warm, shallow oceans. And believe it or not, about 485 million years ago, all of this area around us here was a warm, shallow ocean. And the plants and animals that live in the ocean eventually die and settle to the bottom of the ocean, kind of pile up as a limey mud that later compacts together and makes limestone.
Well, what kind of animal would be making this rock?
So there were lots of different kinds of animals that lived here, everything from very small, microscopic sized things to bigger ones that might have been 15 or 20 feet long, and those would have been cephalopods. So we find cephalopods and trilobites and brachiopods and crinoids and really a lot of different kinds of little fossils that we find in the rock here.
And don't forget about gastropod fossils. We have a couple of those in the cave. So all the rock is over 400 million years old. But the cave itself didn't start forming until about 1 million years ago. That's really old. If I tried to say the word really 1 million times in one day, I would need to say really about 12 times per second. Crystal Cave is really old. Now here's a question, Blaze. How does Crystal Cave form?
The cave is formed mostly by a weak acid that slowly drips down from the surface, and that's called carbonic acid. It's not a strong acid. It's the same stuff you have in soda pop. When you shake it up, it's just the fizzy water that you get there. And we get that from rainwater that comes down from the soil. It passes through the soil and gets carbon dioxide there. And then as it moves down slowly through the rock, it'll start to dissolve this limestone and make the holes that you see all around me here.
There is a lot of water dripping in Crystal Cave, and wherever you see this water dripping, you'll also see a lot of speleothems. Speleothem is just a fancy word for cave formations, and Crystal Cave has quite a few different types of formations. You'll see stalactites. These grow down from the ceiling. Therefore, stalactites hold tight. You'll also see stalagmites. These grow up from the floor, so you better watch your step. Stalagmites might get stepped on. You'll also see ribbons, draperies, flowstone, and my personal favorite, cave bacon. All these different types of formations take hundreds of years to grow and are very delicate and can easily be wrecked. That is why it is really important that you keep your hands to yourself when you're inside the cave. Crystal Cave is naturally dark and a little cold. So no animal would want to live down here, right? Crystal Cave is home to beautiful little creatures. Bats. If If you see any of these fuzzy little mammals, it's important that you stay quiet and keep your hands to yourself. These little guys are sleeping. And Crystal Cave has 4 kinds of bats. Little brown bats, big brown bats, the eastern pipistrelle, and the northern myotis. Most of these bats will only live in the cave during the winter because they are hibernating, which is just a fancy word for sleeping. The bats will sleep from November until May because it is so cold outside that they have nothing to eat. All of these bats eat bugs, flies, moths, and nasty mosquitoes. As the weather gets warm, all the bugs come out, and so do the bats. But since bats are nocturnal, they are only awake at night. But every night during the spring and summer, a single bat will eat about 3,000 bugs. I'm sure you've heard the saying, blind as a bat, but this is not really accurate. Bats have very good eyesight. Some could say they're even a step up from humans because they also have something called echolocation. Echolocation is like sonar. The bat sends out a sound wave, and this sound bounces off of objects and comes back to the bat's ears. And the bat can sense exactly where all the flies, moths, and mosquitoes are, even in the dark. So if anybody ever says that you are blind as a bat, say thanks. It's a compliment. It's important to remember to keep the cave clean when you're inside, but it's just as important to keep it clean when you're on the surface. Caves around the world are being used as landfills. People are carelessly throwing garbage into caves and sinkholes without considering the consequences. Water from the surface slowly moves through the ground and is eventually pumped back up to the surface where it can be used by us humans. Just imagine how polluted the water will be after passing through all the garbage people have thrown into caves. Alright, we've talked about the history of Crystal Cave, the rock. Ahem. The rock. Thank you. The formations, the animals, and the importance of keeping caves clean. Your tour is about to begin, but first, do you have any last words, Blaze?
Crystal Cave is the best cave in Wisconsin. It's the longest cave in Wisconsin with almost a mile of passageway. And your tour guides are going to take you today and show you around some of the best parts of the cave. You'll like it.
Come on down to Crystal Cave. You're gonna have a rockin' good time. The bats are cool and the air is too. Take a trip down 29.
Stalactites, rock! Stalagmites, rock! Bacon, rock! Fossils, rock! Bats, rock! Crystals, rock! Caves, rock! Rocks, rock!
Come on down to Crystal Cave. You're gonna have a rockin' good time. The bats are cool and the air is too. Take a trip down 29.
Stalagmites, rock! Stalagmites, rock! Bacon, rock! Fossils, rock!
Bats are cool and the air is too. Take a trip down 29. After tying themselves to a tree, they crawled into the hole and discovered a vast and magnificent cave.